There's a moment a lot of people in marketing never act on. You're good at the work, you're trusted, you're the strategist everyone leans on, and you're doing it inside somebody else's company. Most people stay right there. It's safe, it's a paycheck, and it's not yours. Today's guest did stay. After more than a decade in digital marketing, including being the lead strategist at one of the top agencies in Raleigh, she walked away from the safe version and built her own. Her name is Rebekah Werner, and her company is Unita Marketing and Boutique Agency. There's a moment a lot of people in marketing never act on. You're good at the work, you're trusted, you're the strategist everyone leans on, and you're doing it inside somebody else's company. Most people stay right there. It's safe, it's a paycheck, and it's not yours. Today's guest did stay. After more than a decade in digital marketing, including being the lead strategist at one of the top agencies in Raleigh, she walked away from the safe version and built her own. Her name is Rebekah Werner, and her company is Unita Marketing and Boutique Agency. She founded in 2022 to help small and mid-sized businesses actually get founded and grow. She's a Raleigh native, a Carolina grad, and she's built something that now part marketing firm, part family, and we're going to talk about the leap, the fear that comes with it, and what it really takes to bettering yourself. Rebekah, welcome to Process Over Pressure.
Thanks, Chad. Appreciate you having me today.
Very excited about you on the show. So let's just start, get right in, because I want people like, hey, who's Rebekah? I want to know who Rebekah is. Tell me about her. So who is Rebekah, and what does Unita do?
All right. Well, two completely different questions. I'll answer the first one first.
Yeah, it's got two of them.
Yeah. That's a loaded question. Who is Rebekah? Number one, I'm a child of God. I identify as a child of God. That's why I try to keep that first and foremost. It's a daily struggle, an hour to minute struggle, but that is my intention, to identify that way first and foremost. Secondly, I'm the wife of Matt Werner, the mother to three beautiful young women, Zoe, Gianna, and Ella Jane. I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm a friend, all the fun things. But beyond that, I enjoy being a marketing partner to a lot of small business owners that live around me and that don't live around me. I also, have that other side of my personality. And then another fun fact about me is I'm also a yogi who loves to teach yoga. And just to round it all out, I love to cook, make a giant mess in the kitchen. I love going and hearing live music, dancing like there's no tomorrow. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's who I am.
You sound like somebody that I would absolutely have a good time hanging out with. You sound like
I love
somebody fun,
out.
and I like that. You're my kind of people.
That's right. I've always believed in working hard and playing hard, and the work-life balance is very important, and part of the reason I founded my own company. So,
yeah, hey, life's short, right?
That's right.
We better enjoy life, and if you're not enjoying it, that's probably a good place to start. So, tell us about Unita, what it is. Well, how what is it? What is the mantra? Well, who are you?
Yeah. Thank you for asking that question. I think it starts with our naming, right? Unita is the Italian word for unity. I identify, my father's family came over from Italy, and I just have really strongly identified with Italian culture. I got to study there in college, and love cooking Italian food and other food too. But I really wanted a unique word that kind of made people pause and go, wait, what is that? How do you say it? Wait, what do you mean? I kind of enjoy being, having people ask questions about it and being able to explain what I mean, because it goes beyond meaning unity. For us, we try to differentiate ourselves from other marketing agencies because we do view every single client as a partner. We look at it as an ongoing partnership, that whether you called me and asked me to help you design a trade show booth and have no intention of ever calling me ever again, or you've called me and said, hey, I've got this idea and I want to launch a business, right? And I need you to help me start it from the ground up. Usually it's somewhere in between where, hey, I started a business a little while back. I've made a big mess. Can you clean it up for me and help me grow? And we kind of do everything in between. We are a full scale agency. Thank you, Lord. So happy. We've been in business almost 5 years now. We are now fully fully operational, everything in-house, no longer outsourcing any work, which is just something I'm so excited about for 2026. All design work, all hosting, everything, you name it, we've got it. That doesn't mean I don't work with partners. We don't do large scale printing, of course. We don't have that kind of equipment, and so we do have all kinds of people in our community that we partner with for a lot of physical, tangible things that you can hold in your hands. But anything with dealing with your online presence, we don't have to outsource anymore. So we're really excited about that. But the important thing to remember about us is that we are full scale, but we also specialize in search engine optimization. So I do have people call me and just want me to run advertising for them, or, like I said, just run a trade show booth design, whatever it may be. But what we've built a reputation in our community for is matching intent. It's like helping our business owners connect with the right person at the right time when they're online searching for their services. And we do that mostly through search engine optimization, and then also with the help of Google Ads. Anytime somebody's going to Google and typing in, or AI, or wherever they're going and typing in for a service provider, we make sure they're matching with our clients and other competitors.
That's great. That's such a look. There's a lot of marketing firms that are out and do a lot of different things, and I think the thing that when I was looking at your story and kind of who you are and wanting you to have on the show is that there's a personal element to you and your team and that culture, and I think you know to me, culture is the starting place for any company. I don't care. I mean, it just starts there, right? It's who you are. It's what you're going to be. It's what you're going to be 20 years from now. That's the way it's going to be. This what makes you tick, right? And I like that. When I was talking to you, like you take that element, and that's the way you work with your clients too. If I'm correct, like it bleeds over into the way you even go about thinking about their business and how to help them.
Yeah, I would say foundationally, I worked really hard in 2025, worked with a bunch of people helping to identify our values and our culture. And, that was one of those things like that you never know when you're starting your business. As a baby business owner, you never think about those kinds of things until, you're a couple years down the road, and it takes a while to really shape them. And I'll be lying if I told you it was, perfectly put in a box. But what's interesting is that part of what defines our company and our culture is that we're not in a box. One thing we're kind of the anti-corporate. I would say we don't do contracts. I mean, we're kind of crazy. Like, we're one of the only agencies in our area that doesn't operate under contracts. In addition to not doing contracts, we don't have pick A, B, or C. We don't have packages at all. I mean, there are no packages. Every single client is unique. Every single client has a unique set of needs and wants and budgets and all the things. And we put all that together along with our professional recommendations. And we work together to come up with a package that works for that client, that works for their budget, and also works for us too as a company.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I think, and I think that's how I operate my business as well because I don't. Everybody's. I mean, I don't think you can you don't think you could take 10 businesses and say they're all alike. They're all different.
Every single one. Yep.
And so how do you create how do you help us? You and I are in a solution business. We're providing a solution, right? How do we do that if we don't, each one's unique and have different things that kind of have to tailor for them, right? Like,
Right.
just couldn't imagine being a cookie cutter, like, oh, this is what we do, these three things. And you figure out how to fit it in your company. And I think that's important for people to hear that because that is an approach by a lot of people. Like, you got A, B, or C. Which one do you want? That's what we do. And then now you try to figure, I don't care. You put this little square peg in the round hole. That's the way it works. Or you have people like yourself say, let's understand you and how we can best make the best impact.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, and honestly, if I was if I was a business consultant, like somebody who was telling agency owners how they should do it, I probably wouldn't recommend the way that we do it because we don't take the easy way by any stretch. It'd be a lot easier to say pick A, B, or C, and put, I mean, that's definitely, a lot of agencies will specialize in one industry and it's just copy and paste across the board, different geo targets. I mean, there's a lot of easier ways to do it, but I want to sleep well at night, and I want to help grow my community of business owners. I want to, the people that I network with, the people that I have relationships with, I want them to grow their business, and I want them to enjoy the freedom that my team has been able to establish. That, the no walls doesn't just stay in the between us and our clients. It's also between our team. We literally don't even have working hours. Like, we have expectations and response times to one another where we're being courteous, and we have deadlines. And other than that, I don't need to know if you're at the gym or taking your kid to the doctor or taking a walk or meditating or whatever you're doing. I don't need to know any of those things. I need to know if you're not going to meet your deadlines for any reason and if you're not going to be able to respond to my emails in a certain amount of time. That's that's how we do things, because freedom is so important in the workplace. In my opinion, it's a foundation of the way we work. To say that you're going to work most effectively the same way that I'm going to work most effectively is ridiculous. To expect us all to be robots working from 9 to 5 or 8 to 4 or whatever, a lot of people do that and it works well, but I mean, we are all over the place. We're generally all working during the day because we have social lives, our friends aren't working at night and weekends. So we are, generally speaking, available. But at the same time, like, wellness is a huge part of my life, and I want it to be a huge part of my team's life. If you need to do anything to stay well or for your family to be well, go do it. You don't need to run any of those things by each other. And
I love that.
our clients know they can depend on us to be on time, ahead of time. We keep the ball rolling. They know we're going to respond to them. They're taking care of their health. You know, there's very few marketing emergencies, which is one of the things I love most about our industry.
It's true. It's just so true.
Yeah.
So take me back to, and I really appreciate the deep dive into kind of who you are and what makes your team so unique. Because I think so many people forget we're all trying to be in a very fast rat race pace, and sometimes we forget to just stop and think about the big world that we live in and what's important. And everybody's different. Like there are people that like, man, I want to have a structure and I want to work 9 to 5, and that's fine, that's the way you operate. But that sense of health is going to make it, I say it like this: if you're happy in life, you're going to be happy in your job and your career, and you're going to be able to be way more productive tenfold than you would be unhappy, unhealthy, and miserable. And I think that's a piece that, if you go back and look at 25 years ago, the way business was structured, it's probably why you had a lot of people that were just burnt out, like hated it. Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
think it's unusual that everybody on the team, what we all have in common is that we genuinely love what we do. We love our clients. We love their businesses. We care about them, and we care about each other. So it's a really lovely work environment for all of us. But we work really hard. We've stayed lean, as far, I think the volume and the amount that we're able to do for our clients is pretty high given how small our team is. I'm really proud of all the work that everybody puts in. So it's pretty incredible.
that's awesome. So take me back to 2022. You're in an agency, you're killing it. Your life is like just you're doing all the things, right? I mean, you're successful. What you walked away, like what made you decide to walk away? And I'll ask you that first. What made you decide to walk away? Then I'll ask the follow-up question.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. If I go back there mentally, I can feel my heart rate start to increase.
Well, let's don't do that.
It was a wild time. I mean, I mentioned I'm a yogi. I teach yoga. I teach people how to breathe, and I'll never forget the day I went to give my 2 weeks notice. I was having a hard time breathing, and I was so upset. It was a really big decision for me. I'm incredibly loyal, and I was in a great work environment. I had a wonderful business owner who brought me under his wing and taught me a lot, and I'll forever be grateful to the job that I was given and the amount of management I was given. Eternally grateful for it, and to walk away from it, it was not a light decision. It was a big one, and it was really hard to walk away from all those clients that I'd built relationships with for so many years. But ultimately, at the end of the day, my family is always going to come first, and we had reached a point in our lives where we needed more. Our children were wrecking cars. Our car insurance was skyrocketing. Kids were going to college. And it wasn't cutting it. And I was, doing some side jobs. I loved the work I was doing. I was trying to make it work. And meanwhile, when I look back, I have this clarity that I didn't have at the time, but I was constantly pushing my business owner. I mean, constantly. I was like, I was always seeing different ways to approach things and wanting to do more for the clients. And just, at your typical agency, the volume is just too high to give that bear hug approach that we do at Unita Marketing. Just sheer volume, it just limits you, right? And it's like, we've taken care of that client. You got to move on. You got to move on. You got to move on. And I'm not saying that we weren't taking care of our clients there. That's the last thing I'm saying. But what I am saying is that I was continually frustrated by the volume.
Yeah.
And I was continually frustrated by the processes, constantly, I'm sure he was frustrated with me continuing to challenge the processes and push them. So when I look back, the writing was on the wall. But in real time, it was wild the way it unfolded. I was feeling like, man, I love the work that I'm doing, but I need to contribute more financially to my family. And how do I do that? While still taking care of my family. And I was kind of in this place where I was looking like, knew I needed to make a change, but didn't really want to. And one of my best friends, husband and wife owned company, started a brewery nearby. And they reached out to me personally and said, we love the work that you do, and we want you to take over our marketing, not your company. And that was the very beginning. That was like the little mustard seed, per
Yeah.
se. I said, absolutely, yes. I was so excited to be able to do things my way from the ground up. That was the launch of Unita Marketing, essentially. I created it. It was like a boom, a quick decision. Took me no time to name the company and found it so that I could, take on that one client in a legal capacity, of course. But what was so interesting to me, which blew me away, was how much I loved doing it my way. And when I look back, it's like, yeah, it was pretty obvious. Unita Marketing is not my first company. I also own Unita Yoga. I've also had several other companies in the past that kind of were stair steps to where we are now. But yeah, I think once I started, it was like, oh, wait a minute, I think we're onto something here. And then my next client was the hardscaper that knocked on my door to give me a bid for hardscaping, and he had a trailer that said two guys mowing, and it was one guy hardscaping. And I said, I think you got a branding problem. He said, yeah, to make it even worse, I don't live in this city anymore. I live an hour away and all my client base is here. And I said, you've come to the right place. So we built him a new brand, a new website, launched his SEO. Now his pipeline's full, 3 teams of guys. He's full 6 months out, all within his service area. So, I mean, that guy loves me. He was client number 2. And then from there, I started dreaming. And it wasn't until then that I started dreaming, but that's when I started dreaming, and I started doing some math and realized how many clients do I need to walk away and then start growing this thing. And that's exactly what I did. Got the clients I needed to walk away. Never did lose salary because I couldn't, we're a double income family, always have been. So once I was able to replace my salary, then I gave that 2 weeks notice, which was that scary day. I already painted that picture for you where I was so nervous because I loved the work I was doing. It was really hard to walk away, but it was the right thing for my family, no question about it. And I've never looked back.
I love that story. And that's, it's I guess the thing that, listening to you tell that kind of back to, I was thinking and really, I think for anyone who is an entrepreneur that's listening, or maybe they're just thinking about being an entrepreneur, they're there, like there's a sense of anxiety, right? Like
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I mean, I explain this all the time. It's the happiest I've ever been in being an entrepreneur owning this company, but it's the scariest at the same time because you walk away from a salary where, look, you make great money and you know that there's going to be a paycheck there. Like, you're putting in the time to work and there's going to be a paycheck. To you're not sure if there's going to be a paycheck, but you hope there's going to be a paycheck and you work a lot. And I don't know, I mean, it's hard to explain that to people, but there's a sense of freedom. There's a sense of I'll be a little bit scared. I mean, I'm just be honest, it's a little bit scary because everything's like, you've kind of played being an entrepreneur in your head 1,000 times. Like, if I owned it, you hear people say, if I own the business, I would do it this way. I think we all do that. If
Yep.
you're an entrepreneur at heart,
Right.
like you think of those things. But then now you like put the money where the mouth is. You got to do it. And I love that. Even that the guy that was knocking on your door to sell services, you saw him as a opportunity. That's a big difference between successful entrepreneurs and unsuccessful, is being willing to see an opportunity and being willing to go after it. And I think that's huge. And so, kudos to you. And I know that's probably, you probably feel like I do. Scary sometimes, fun sometimes, a little bit of all of it.
Oh man, I'll tell you, there's a couple things I would recommend to anybody who's thinking about starting their own business. And this is kind of unusual advice, but something that gave me peace was knowing I could go wait tables. Right? So make sure you have a solid way that you can get money coming in if things get tight. Because if you don't have that cushion, you're less likely to really, really go for it. Right? So when I went for it that day, couple things were behind me. Number one, my husband was behind me. And without his support, it was a family decision. It was, hey, everybody, I'm going to kiss goodbye to a salary and a job that I love because I have a dream. Is everybody okay with that? I mean, it was a family decision. And I didn't feel like my family said, okay. I feel like my family said, you've got this. We believe in you and we will lift you up like on the bad days. And they absolutely do, because not every day is good. There are days where I am thinking, I'm like, what have I done? Especially early on, it's very scary. Yeah. It's very, very scary. Yeah. But every day at the end of the day, I knew if I'm not going to meet the financial needs of my family, I know I can go wait tables. I know I can go bartend. I know I can teach more yoga classes. I knew that I had that earning potential. And did it mean I might have to work 12 to 15 hours a day? Yes, it did mean that. But but you've got to be willing to do that, to take this leap, and there are many, many days. I'm sure both of us could say, anybody who's started a business, there's a lot of 12, 15 hour days, but there's a lot of 2-hour days too. 4 or 5 years down the road now, I also love to paddleboard. And if it's beautiful outside and it's not windy and I don't have meetings, guess what? I go paddleboard, because that's a lot of stuff to line up. No meetings, good weather, no wind, I'm out,
Yeah.
So it works both ways. But there's a lot of 15-hour days. And there's a lot of days where I think, oh, you know what? I think I might have to call those friends that started a brewery and I might need to pour some beer this weekend. And that's okay. That's okay, because you have a dream and you're willing to do whatever it takes to make it happen.
Yeah. And I love that. And I think it's so true, is that it's, for people, we live in this, and I've said this a few times on my podcast. I think it's, I don't want to sound cynical, but it's true. We live in a time where, and I think we've created this culture where everybody's looking for I say an easy button. And I know that sounds horrible, but I think we want to look at, like, let me say it this way, and I think this is kind of relate. You got people that are, never heard of in my life, that can become a social influencer overnight. Like we all have TikTok. I mean, there's people out there that are building a go-kart that's got 68,000 followers that are following them to building a go-kart, and they're making a living doing that. Like, you think like there's easy button, but really stepping out is not easy. Like, owning a business is not fun. It's not, let me say, it's fun. It's hard. It's hard work. It takes time. Right. It takes commitment. It takes, to be successful, you have to be willing to look at the mistakes that you made and internal evaluate, saying, I screwed that up. Like, man, I jammed that up bad. And pivot and fix, and have people to look at your six and say, hey man, you should do this. You're not doing this right. Like, you got to have that. And it sounds like your family's one of those that kind of, for you, have been able to do that, but maybe you have other people that have helped you do that. And I encourage people, if you're an entrepreneur and you don't have people doing that for you, find somebody.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. I've got a great community. I live in North Raleigh. And so, for those of you that've never heard of Raleigh, it's in North Carolina. And it's a metropolitan city, with the heart, little town heart, but we've gotten pretty big. We've got great culture now. It's an awesome city. Wake Forest used to be, I mean, I could think it's technically a town, which is like a joke now because it's gotten really, really big. North Raleigh, where we live, we're halfway between downtown Wake Forest and downtown Raleigh. And I always like to tell people, I work in Wake Forest and I play in Raleigh because I like live music, and all the best live music's downtown Raleigh.
Yeah.
But and a lot of my friends are down there. I grew up in Raleigh. So, I mean, I always end up downtown a few days a week, but normally it's social. When I'm out there hustling and networking and, making strategic decisions, I'm with this Wake Forest community, which is just absolutely incredible. There's a community there of founders. It's an entrepreneurial community. It's called the Wake Forest Business Industry Partnership. It's pretty incredible, and it gets together founders. And I was just part of a founders cohort in fall 2025. It was incredible. I mean, that's where we were honing in on our messaging and our core values, and I mean, just the things that you never think, and to have peers alongside you to say, when you use that word boutique, sounds bougie. And I'm going, well, I thought it meant like curated and custom tailored to every single individual person. They're going, that makes sense. But on the get out, when you refer to yourself as a boutique marketing agency, it sounds expensive. And I'm going, thank you for telling me that. I didn't know that. So you'll hear me identifying with that a little bit less because, we're not the most expensive and we're not the cheapest. We definitely do the best job. No question about that. We're very much hands-on, all-inclusive. We give a bear hug, not a handshake, is what we like to say. But yeah, we're not the most expensive. There's way more expensive companies out there that are doing way less. We like to put ourselves as the best value. But yeah, the last thing I want to do is make somebody think we're like, pinkies up, bougie, expensive, only working
Yeah.
with large companies. That is not the case
Yeah.
at all. So
Yeah.
that was great feedback for me. That's a perfect example of, people being honest, good, hardworking people that are also business owners being honest with you.
Yeah, and I think you're pretty involved in the Wake Forest Chamber, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
do.
That's where I do all my networking is with the chamber, and I work from a place called the Loading Dock, which has 3 locations: downtown Raleigh, Midtown Raleigh, and Wake Forest. But a lot of our Wake Forest Chamber networking events are there. So and the Wake Forest Business Industry Partnership headquarters is there. I mean, it's like this one just conglomerate of business owners that we're kind of like our work family, where we network, we send people to one another. Like if one of, my networking partners is talking to somebody about how they need a new website, that they think of me. And if somebody's talking to me about how they need paint, I'm thinking of him or we all just refer to one another, and it's really great. But then we also can lean on each other for business advice too and say, you know, a guy recently told me about like an improved process for billing, and now I'm saving hundreds of dollars a month on my fees by, you know, just that little tweak. And I'm like, man, you're saving me thousands. Thank you. Like, over the course of a year, that was a huge conversation. I appreciate you sending me this guy's name. Like, thank you so much.
I love that, and I brought that up for the listeners because, what I'd like to do is I want to just be if you're not in if you're for people who are listening to this, like, Rebecca could give you like, hey, here are a couple things that I would do if I lived in a bigger city. I understand not everybody lives in a big city or a bigger city, and I think joining the chamber is one of them, right?
Yeah.
Like you just gave a great example of being around other business owners and stuff helps to kind of have that network that you can talk about your business and hear things just like, oh my God, because look, a few $1,000s is a lot of money for some people and a lot of money for anybody. And so
Anyway.
to be able to hear that one nugget and shift and change that, I mean, it pays for being a part of the chamber and it really just kind of makes you a part of that community and gets you involved in what's going on and feel like you're, you know, doing something and matters inside that community.
Yeah, and even beyond that, like just looking at SEO, like search engine optimization, you get a pretty detailed profile listing that if you take advantage of it, once you join the chamber, they'll send you your login information. And I mean, you can fill out quite a bit of optimized content on there as far as what you do and your services and all that, which they'll show up in search engines for sure. Um, and beyond that, even the administration through the chamber, if you're going to events, make sure you meet those people because those people are meeting with business owners all day, every day, and you want to be at the front of their minds. I get referrals directly from chamber administration. People say, "Oh, so I met so and so when I was at the chamber and I was joining, and they told me about you." Right? I mean, like, and there's hundreds of members of the chamber, and the reason they told that person about me and not someone else is because they see me on a weekly basis. Right? I'm at the events, I'm shaking hands, I'm meeting people, I'm checking on how that process, that procedure go. Like, how's this season going for your kid or whatever. Like we have relationships. We actually care about each other. So you stay front of mind with other business owners and people that interact with the same, my clients are business owners. So I surround myself with business owners who also work with business owners, right? So it's like that way, I don't surround myself with agency owners necessarily. I do though. I mean, I'm kind of, again, no walls. I've got no walls. Like I actually hang out with agency owners too, and we learn from each other. And I'm trying to, when I first kind of broke into Wake Forest, it was very dismissive, like, "Oh, you own an agency, I guess we shouldn't talk." And I was just kinda like, "Hey, let's flip that table because there's plenty of business to go around. Do you think you're gonna get every single business owner in this town? No. Let's learn from each other and let's share business, and if I'm full, I'll pass to you, and if you're full, you pass to me, but more importantly, let's learn from each other, and who are you outsourcing this to, and, how did you improve this process, and, how is this working for you, and what do you think of
Yeah.
GEO is like the new thing, all the things we can talk to each other and learn and be better for our community because we're all serving the same community and let's be better for our community as a whole. So,
Yeah, I think that's, I think people get tied up into feeling like they're, I live in the Dallas area. There's 8.5 million people in the DFW area. I'm like, there's you can't see everybody. I mean, there's so many people, right? And so, I love talking to people who are in the same space that I am because it's being an entrepreneur is lonely sometimes. It can be very lonely, and if you don't have a network of people that you talk to every day, like that understand what you go through and do, it really helps to bounce things off. And I tell any entrepreneur or any business owner, even established businesses, is who is in your internal network that you kind of talk to, or you be able to pick up the phone. I don't care if you're CEO of $100 million company. You have to have people that you can pick the phone up and call, be like, "Hey, I'm running into this. What's your thoughts on that?" And will not tell you what you want to hear, but be able to kind of help you a little bit through that, or at least say, "Hey, I know another guy I talk to." Right?
right.
That circle is important. It's very valuable.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. It's incredibly valuable. I would, to take it a step further, I don't think I'd be the first marketing professional to tell you that niche works, right? But it also works with networking. So, I mentioned I'm in Raleigh. Raleigh is a pretty large city, not as big as Dallas, but it's pretty big. And the Raleigh chamber is great, but I felt like I was getting swallowed up in there a little bit,
Yeah.
And so I started shopping around. We've got a North Raleigh chamber now. We have a Wake Forest chamber. There's a couple other small towns popping up: Youngsville chamber, Roseville chamber. A lot of people I know make the mistake of joining all of them and going to one event at each one every month or two-ish and kind of spreading themselves thin. And it's not that that's a mistake that may be working for them, but I think what has worked really well for me is to stay focused on Wake Forest Chamber, right? I've just gone, you know what? I'm a loyal person. I kind of, my personality is, I've said this before. I dive in head first and then I figure out what pool I'm swimming in. That's what I do. That's like
Yeah.
my process, right? So, first, step one, dive in head first, fully committed. And then step two, figure
Yeah.
out what in the world's going on around you and like how to adapt and like kick harder, swim harder, whatever. That's what I did with Wake
Yeah.
Forest Chamber. It's, within that chamber, it's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. I've been a member for, I think this is my third year now. And knowing that I know this many people, that now I know this many people, that now I know this many people, and now it's this many people, like it grows from there versus diluting those relationships by spreading myself too thin. Because there's only so much in the day, time in the day for networking. You know what I mean? There's so much time in the week, I'd say, or in the month. There's, certainly not time every day for it. So sometimes it does feel like, oh, I'm seeing the same people over and over again. But the reality is I'm building relationships with those people. And I'm staying front of mind with those people. And those people are growing, the number of people and the number of connections. And even within that chamber, you can differentiate. You can even specialize more. Like we have Women's Business Alliance within the Wake Forest Chamber. And I'm like, oh, I'm all about lifting up other women, especially female-owned businesses. That's like my kind of like my little side, like, I'm like, yeah, like I love a female-owned business. If I could, no offense to you, Chad, but if I could,
No.
if if it's apples to apples, I'm going with the female-owned business every time. Like,
No, I doesn't bother me at all. I actually got several. women-owned businesses that are friends of mine that I have, and I love it. I mean, I think I think we live. To me, I see it as you know, have we arrived? No, but how far we've come. Like, I think we need to celebrate that. Like the fact that we have thriving women-owned companies, we should say, "Great job!" Like that's awesome. Like 25, 30 years ago, that wasn't the case, and so I look at it as like I think it's a good thing. Is what I'm saying. I think it's awesome, and I think I think it's fantastic, and we should celebrate it, not look at it like, "Ugh." Like,
I think I'd be remiss, Chad, if I didn't mention that my grandmother owned 2 soccer stores. It is just so cool for me when I think about that. And I think about, when I was growing up, seeing my grandmother as a business owner and what a profound impact that had on me when I look back on it, and I didn't know it at the time. But when I look back, I just think what an incredible role model for me. It's
absolutely.
incredible. And I come from a family of entrepreneurs. Many, many of my family members own their own businesses. But to think, in the 50s that my grandmother was like, "Hey, I'm gonna start a soccer store because my son loves soccer," And so I'm buying all this soccer equipment anyway. I'm gonna learn how to source it, and I'm gonna start a store. And she ended up having multiple locations and sold it for profit. And, it's just incredible when I think about
I
it. So
guarantee you she was one tough
she
cookie.
was. She was. I felt bad for that guy that tried to steal her purse one time. That did not go well for him. Yeah.
I love it.
That did not go well for him. Yeah, but yeah, she's a tough lady and she set a great example for me. And, I've come from a long line of entrepreneurship. And I do think it's really helpful if you don't come from that long line of entrepreneurship and it is something that you want to do, to surround yourself with people that have that mindset, that have that yes, you can mentality. Because when you're in a room full of people that believe they can and believe you can, you start to believe it too.
Yeah, and I mean, for you, you have 3 daughters, and so look at the example that your grandmother had on you, and now you're leaving for your daughters too. I mean, that just, gotta make you feel good, or it should. I mean, that's what an example that they get to see, like, "Hey, my mom kinda owns she's kind of a badass a little bit." I mean, listen, say it. I think that's cool. You should so kudos to you for that. So I got like we're gonna do a little rapid questions here. I'm just gonna throw out a question, like a little comment, and you just kind of answer it. Like
Okay.
you don't get a chance to think. It's not prep, so nobody gets like,
All right.
you just get to go out of here. So it's just a little rapid fire fun here at the end. So here we go. You ready?
Yes.
All right. So one thing that you've learned while owning your business, a mistake that 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 you can remember back on that actually turned out to be in something that was a positive.
Oof.
Yeah.
Mistake I made that ended up being a positive one.
Or you look at now, it's like, I'm glad that happened. Like, it wasn't happy at the time. It was like, "Oh my gosh, I shouldn't have done that." But you look back like, "Oh man, what a lesson I learned out of
Okay. Then I can give you my original answer. The first answer that popped in my head, I learned early on, don't start working until the deposit's been paid.
it." It's good.
Yeah,
Yeah, you don't wanna do it free.
that's right. That's a lesson most people learn once.
Yeah, that's good. What is one AI tool that you may be new to you that you're using right now? Doesn't have to be in your job. It could just be any of them that you're like, "This is really cool."
You know what? I'm sure you've heard most of them, but this one's pretty cool. This is right before this meeting. I've been using Otter.ai for a while to record conversations with clients where typically when we're in a Google Meet, I use AI to record on the meeting because I grab tons of content from our meetings. But sometimes, when I'm face to face, I see my clients all the time, in the real world. And I'm out in the real world and we start talking and they start telling me something that I'm like, "Oh, I need to record this because
Yeah.
this is great content for, I could write 6 articles off of what we're talking about right now." And I have had to go to my phone and search for the Otter.ai app and hit record. And by the time I've done that, they're kind of like, "Oh, it was good to see you." And I'm like, "Oh, shoot." So today I just Googled how to get it so that it's a faster click. And it was super easy. I just put the widget on, I scroll to the left on my iPhone, the widget's right there, and I hit tap and I can start recording without even looking at my phone. I can maintain eye contact with the client and start recording the call to their benefit, right? I mean, it's, I'm not like ever secretly reporting
Yeah.
them, but it's more just like, hey, this is interesting. I want to use this content because we try to capture their voice as best we can when we're writing for them. So yeah, that was huge today to find that quick tap where I can start recording easily.
I love that, and that's and there's a lot of them out there, and there's so many I use similar to that as well because you could take a pen and paper and write it
Yeah,
down,
yeah.
right? But what happens is, and this is why I love that, and I think you said it is you get to have when you're having conversation like we're having, you're more real and authentic, and you're capturing the true essence of their voice and their character and who they are. And so it helps for especially for marketing or anything. It really helps to get that in its authenticity versus trying to take quick hand notes that you lose the true power of what they're trying to say. So I love that. I think that's cool. That's a great tool that anybody out there listening should try to definitely use that. So.
Yeah, and it goes beyond just capturing their voice too, capturing the details because these business owners, they're in their industry and they're experts. They know they could talk about it inside and out, forwards and backwards. And I'm trying to learn it as they're talking. And when you're writing it down, you're only getting maybe 5% of what they're saying, right? I mean, except in case maybe you're superhuman, but like, I'm jotting down like overall notes, like here's a topic, here's 3 supporting points, here's a topic, here's 3 supporting points, like stuff like that. But what you're getting from the client is yes, their intonation, yes, their tone of voice, but most importantly, you're getting those minutia details from inside their brain. So you're choosing, we can do our own research and find all these other things, but like we want to essentially represent you to your clients. And so taking what's in your brain and putting it out there's nothing better than that. Right. So,
Absolutely
and when
not.
you're recording, you can focus on the conversation. You're not focusing on, wait, can you repeat that? You know, I didn't quite, how do you spell that? Like, you don't have to deal with any of that. You could just have a conversation and just learn and be engaged and ask the right questions at the right time and go deeper and learn more and get more content, essentially by the end of it. So I highly recommend recording as much as possible.
That's I totally agree with that. So last fire question here at you. What would you tell young Rebekah today? Is she starting out? What would be one advice you'd give her?
Okay, the rule is the first thing that popped into my head. I hate my answer, but it is what popped into my head. Go to business school.
Love it. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's where I started, and I switched and studied marketing and advertising, which I loved, but I wish I'd gotten my MBA before I dove in headfirst and figured out what pool I was swimming in. I think that would have been really helpful to have an MBA,
Yeah.
just for me,
Well,
for knowledge.
I love it. I like those rapid because it gets you just kind of throwing off pops in your head. So, well, listen, Rebekah, we're at our time. This has been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. I really appreciate that. If people are listening and they'd like to know more about you, or they'd like to, get an opportunity to have a consult with you or a conversation with you about what you do and maybe learn a little bit more, how would they reach you?
The easiest thing to do is remember the word Unita. It's the Italian word for unity. It's spelled UNITA. So just an A instead of a Y. And if you search Unita Marketing and you don't find me, let me know because that's a problem. You should find me pretty easy. It's unitamarketing.com, Unita Marketing NC on all socials. Contact at unitamarketing.com is my email. Should be pretty easy to find me from there.
Perfect. Well, guys, it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure to have you. Thank you guys for joining on the show. I'm Chad Paris, owner and founder of Stonefly Consulting. This is my podcast, Process Over Pressure. Love for you to subscribe and follow along as we continue this journey talking to fabulous entrepreneurs like Rebekah.
Thank you,
Till next
Chad.
time.
Thanks for having me.